The power of perception, how to shape your reality. There exists a hidden mechanism that entirely shapes our personal worlds, a phenomenon so pervasive, yet so invisible, that it dictates the very fabric of our lived experiences. It is a constant and silent architect of our personal universes, influencing every interaction, every outcome, and every feeling we possess. The profound significance of self-awareness and perception as fundamental tools for sculpting personal reality cannot be underestimated. These internal faculties are not mere passive observers, but active architects, dictating the very structure through which we interpret and interact with the world. Many individuals, however, navigate their lives operating under a flawed understanding of causality, confusing passing symptoms with the deep roots of their challenges. This misdirected focus on superficial manifestations inevitably leads to a pervasive sense of frustration, as attempts to alter external circumstances prove futile when the underlying internal drivers remain unaddressed. It is similar to continuously treating a fever without investigating the infection, a cycle of temporary fixes that never produces lasting change and perpetuates a feeling of powerlessness against the tide of life's adversities. This internal disconnection is a primary reason why so many find themselves trapped in cycles of disappointment, pursuing external validation or solutions that never completely satisfy. They may diligently seek career advancements, relationship improvements, or material gains, only to discover that the desired happiness or fulfillment remains elusive. The consistent theme is an external locus of control, where perceived happiness is contingent upon the presence or absence of external factors. This mindset generates a reactive existence, where life happens to them, instead of them actively creating their life experience. The underlying assumption is that the external world is the primary determinant of their internal state, a belief system that fundamentally limits their capacity for genuine and sustainable transformation. The outer world, the bustling marketplace, the silent forest, the faces of strangers, all of this, we come to understand, is not as solid and independent as it appears. It functions, in a profound way, as a vast mirror in constant change. What we perceive as external reality is, at its core, a reflection of our internal landscape. This is not mere philosophical reflection, it is the very engine that drives our human experience, dictating how we navigate the currents of existence. Think of it as standing before a funhouse mirror. The distortions you see are not inherent to the mirror itself, but rather an amplification of your own unique form. Similarly, the world reflects back to us the beliefs we hold, the stories we tell ourselves about who we are, and the deepest, often unconscious assumptions that shape our identity. This principle, the mirror principle, suggests that our interactions with the external world are not encounters with an objective and immutable truth. Instead, they are dialogues, conversations where the external world articulates the internal workings of our minds. If our internal narrative is one of scarcity, the world will appear as a place of lack, where opportunities are scarce and rewards are hard to earn. Conversely, if our internal dialogue is one of abundance and possibility, the world will unfold with a sense of generosity, revealing paths and connections we might have overlooked. It is like wearing a pair of colored glasses. If the lenses are dark and gloomy, the entire landscape will appear melancholic. If they are rose-colored, even challenging situations can be seen with a sense of optimism. Our deeply rooted beliefs act as the architects of this mirrored reality. These are not just superficial opinions, they are the fundamental pillars upon which our sense of self is built. If, for example, we harbor a belief that we are fundamentally unworthy, the external world will conspire to present evidence supporting this notion. We may encounter situations where our efforts seem unrewarded, or interactions where we feel overlooked. This is not a malicious universe in action, but rather the mirror principle diligently reflecting our internal decree. The key to changing our experience does not lie in trying to manipulate the external world, a futile effort similar to trying to repaint a reflection without changing the object, but in understanding and gently transforming the internal source of the image. It is about recognizing that the hand holding the brush, so to speak, is our own, and that by altering the pigment and brushstrokes of our internal world, we can, in turn, alter the canvas of our perceived reality. The mirror of reality, as it has been termed, operates with a severe, almost brutal impartiality. It does not concern itself with what we wish were true, nor with the declarations we make about our noble intentions. Instead, it reflects the unvarnished truth of our internal landscape, a landscape often distant from the polished facade we present to ourselves and others. This mirror is remarkably accurate. It captures every subtle nuance of our core beliefs, the deeply rooted assumptions that guide our perceptions and reactions. It is in these fundamental, often subconscious convictions that the true source of our external experience lies, not in the passing desires or declared purposes that float on the surface. Most individuals navigate their lives convinced they are interacting with an objective, external world. They see challenges, successes, and relationships as independent occurrences, external forces acting upon them. They fail to recognize that this perceived reality is, in fact, a projection, a meticulously crafted illusion woven from the threads of their own internal narratives. This internal world, shaped by a lifetime of learned biases, past traumas, and deeply held, often unexamined beliefs, acts as a distorting lens. What we perceive as objective truth is merely the filtered output of this internal projector. The disturbing truth is that this distortion is self-inflicted, an ongoing act of creation by each individual, performed without their conscious awareness. Consider the subtle ways this internal world distorts perception. A person who harbors a deep belief in their own inadequacy will inevitably interpret neutral feedback as criticism, or overlook opportunities for advancement, convinced they are unworthy. Their external reality, in this case, becomes a confirmation of their internal narrative of deficiency. The mirror of reality faithfully reproduces this, showing them a world that aligns with their ingrained sense of not being good enough. Conversely, someone with an unshakable belief in their own resilience will find positive aspects in adversity, their internal conviction acting as a filter that emphasizes possibilities and strengths, thus shaping their observable experience. The accuracy of the mirror lies in its unwavering fidelity to the deepest and most persistent assumptions governing our minds. For years, I was trapped in a cycle of external adjustments. My job was not fulfilling, so I would change companies, hoping the next environment would magically imbue me with purpose. My relationships seemed strained, so I would try to force more connection, make people understand me better, engineer harmony. I meticulously analyzed every interaction, every email, every meeting, looking for the exact words or actions that were causing friction. I believed that by adjusting the external world, orchestrating the reflections around me, I could finally achieve a sense of peace and contentment. It was like trying to fix a distorted image on a screen by constantly adjusting the monitor's brightness and contrast, never considering that the source signal itself might be faulty. This relentless pursuit of external validation and control was exhausting, a constant battle against a tide that always seemed to pull me back. The frustration was palpable. Every attempt to change my circumstances, no matter how well-intentioned or thoroughly planned, ultimately led back to the same internal discomfort. It was as if the universe were playing a cruel joke, presenting me with new scenarios but the same internal script. I would find myself in a new role, with different colleagues, in a seemingly more promising situation, only to discover the familiar whispers of doubt and inadequacy resurfacing. The external improvements seemed superficial, like applying a fresh coat of paint to a crumbling foundation. The core issues, my own insecurities, my tendency toward self-sabotage, my underlying fear of not being good enough, remained stubbornly in place, coloring every new experience with the same hues of dissatisfaction. The true awakening, the liberating discovery, came not from a grand external event, but from a quiet moment of deep introspection. I was once again feeling completely overwhelmed by a perceived professional setback. Instead of immediately diving into damage control, analyzing what I had done wrong or what others must have thought, I found myself simply sitting with the feeling. And in that stillness, a new understanding began to dawn. I realized I was not just reacting to circumstances, I was creating my experience of them. The power was not in changing the reflection in the mirror, but in understanding the image I was projecting onto it. My internal narrative, my deeply held beliefs about myself and my capabilities, were the true architects of my reality. This realization was like a switch flipping in my mind. It was no longer about manipulating external variables. It was about cultivating a different internal landscape. The focus shifted from what can I change out there to what can I change in here. This meant confronting those deeply rooted assumptions, the ones that had been shaping my reflections for so long. It was a daunting prospect, similar to looking at a long-forgotten photograph and recognizing not just the person, but the entire set of beliefs and experiences that had shaped their expression. The task was no longer about altering the lighting or the angle, but about understanding the very subject in the image. The transformation was gradual, not an overnight metamorphosis. It involved actively challenging negative internal dialogue, practicing self-compassion, and deliberately choosing to believe in my own resilience and capacity for growth, even when the external world offered little immediate evidence. It was about nurturing the internal image so that the reflections would naturally begin to change. I began to see that my inherent worth was not tied to external achievements or others' opinions, but was a fundamental aspect of my being. This new understanding became the rock upon which I could build a more authentic and fulfilling life, one where challenges were seen not as insurmountable obstacles, but as opportunities for greater internal refinement. The concept of the mirror of reality operates on a profound principle: it does not create, it simply reflects. Imagine it as a perfect, still surface that shows exactly what is being presented to it. This reflection is not a judgment of good or bad, it is a neutral amplification of whatever energies and beliefs are emanating from within. The mirror's capacity to reflect is intrinsically linked to what we might call our vibrational frequency, which is composed of two fundamental components: our deeply rooted identity and our encompassing worldview. Our deeply rooted identity is the core of who we believe we are at the most fundamental level. This is not about our professional title, our relationships, or our achievements, but the intrinsic sense of self that has been cultivated over time. If this identity is rooted in a belief of inherent worthiness, resilience, and capability, then the vibrational frequency emitted will be one of strength and optimism. Conversely, if the identity is built upon foundations of self-doubt, inadequacy, or perceived unworthiness, then the frequency will carry those underlying tones. This internal compass, whether consciously recognized or not, dictates the signals we send out. Complementing this identity is our worldview, the lens through which we interpret the world and our place within it. This encompasses our assumptions about how life works, the general disposition we hold toward circumstances, and our expectations of outcomes. A worldview that anticipates cooperation, sees opportunities in adversity, and trusts in life's natural unfolding will vibrate at a different frequency than one that expects betrayal, sees challenges as personal attacks, and anticipates failure. This framework filters our perceptions and shapes our responses, thus influencing the energetic signature we project. The mirror of reality, in its impartial nature, picks up this combined energetic output. It does not analyze the morality or desirability of these internal states, it simply resonates with them. If your deeply rooted identity whispers "I am capable and deserving," and your worldview anticipates positive outcomes, the mirror will reflect circumstances that align with this. Opportunities may appear, supportive people may enter your life, and solutions to problems may present themselves with surprising ease. Conversely, if the internal dialogue is one of scarcity and fear, or if the worldview is characterized by suspicion and negativity, the mirror will faithfully return reflections of difficulty, conflict, and missed chances. It is crucial to understand that this is not a punitive system. The mirror is merely a conductor, an amplifier of what already exists within. The power does not lie in changing the mirror, but in transforming the frequency it reflects. This realization shifts the focus from external manipulation to internal cultivation, a far more potent and sustainable path to experiencing desired realities. The subtle shift in perspective, from trying to control the external world to tending to the internal landscape, began to unlock a new understanding of how true change manifests. The core of mastering one's own reflection, of projecting a consistently positive and empowering image, does not lie in altering the surface, but in harmonizing the internal transmission. This is the essence of becoming a master, someone who not only intellectually understands these concepts but integrates them deeply into their lived experience, allowing them to emanate wisdom naturally. This transformation begins with the understanding that the mirror is merely an obedient messenger, faithfully returning what it receives. Therefore, the focus must shift from a desire to manipulate the messenger to a deep commitment to cultivating the sender. A fundamental principle is radical self-acceptance. This is not about complacency, but about acknowledging all facets of yourself, the celebrated and the shadowy, without judgment. When you cease the internal battle against perceived flaws, you release immense energy. This acceptance creates fertile ground for genuine growth, allowing positive attributes to flourish without the impediment of self-criticism. It is about offering yourself the same kindness and understanding you would readily extend to a dear friend, recognizing that imperfection is an inherent part of the human journey. Another vital secret is the conscious curation of your internal dialogue. Every thought, every internal conversation, contributes to the energetic frequency you project. If your internal monologue is one of doubt, scarcity, or negativity, that is precisely what the mirror will reflect back. Conversely, by intentionally choosing optimistic, empowering, and self-affirming thoughts, you begin to recalibrate your internal transmission. This requires consistent practice, like tending a garden, diligently weeding out negative patterns and nurturing positive ones until they become your default setting. The third critical element is the embodiment of your desired reality. This means acting, speaking, and feeling as if the positive reflection you seek were already a present truth. This is not about pretense, but about aligning your actions with your aspirations. When you consistently behave in ways congruent with your highest self, you reinforce that internal state, and external manifestation inevitably follows. This practice imbues your presence with an undeniable confidence and magnetism, drawing to you the very experiences you wish to cultivate. Finally, the practice of gratitude acts as a potent amplifier. By actively acknowledging and appreciating the good that already exists in your life, you create a feedback loop of positivity. This is not just a passive feeling, it is an active recognition that cultivates a mindset of abundance. When you are genuinely grateful, your internal frequency elevates, and the mirror promptly reflects this state of grace, attracting more opportunities for gratitude into your experience. This ongoing cycle of internal alignment and external reflection solidifies mastery of the projected image. The first secret, the art of conscious projection, is a concept that often eludes us, leading to a disconnect between who we are and who we appear to be. Most individuals inadvertently project an image based on their immediate circumstances, a snapshot of their current reality. This unconscious projection is like a photograph taken in poor light, capturing only what is present, not necessarily what is desired. If someone is currently experiencing financial strain, their unconscious projection may be one of scarcity, fear, and limitation. Similarly, someone struggling with a health issue may project an aura of fragility and worry, even when they possess inner strength. This accidental projection, while understandable, traps them in a loop, reinforcing the very circumstances they wish to transcend. It is as if the world were watching a movie of their present, and therefore, only offers more scenes from the same narrative. The core of this first secret lies in shifting from accidental projection to deliberate creation. Instead of passively accepting the reflection of your current reality, you are invited to consciously project the identity you wish to embody. This is not about creating a false persona, but rather about aligning your inner self with your aspirations, then projecting that emerging identity outward. It is a proactive stance, a decision to be the architect of your external presentation rather than a mere tenant of your present circumstances. Think of it as choosing the script, directing the scene, and playing the role of the person you are becoming. This requires introspection, a clear vision of your desired future self, and a commitment to embody the qualities, beliefs, and attitudes of that future self, even before external evidence fully supports it. The process begins with a deep understanding that your internal world dictates your external world. If you consistently project an image of confidence, competence, and unwavering belief in your goals, the universe will eventually respond by presenting opportunities that align with that projected frequency. It is about embodying the feeling of already having achieved your desires, of already possessing the traits of your visionary self. This requires diligent practice. It means catching yourself when you revert to projecting from a place of lack or limitation and gently, but firmly, redirecting your mental energy. It is an ongoing refinement, a sculpting of the self that emanates from a place of inner certainty and outer intention. This conscious projection is the first fundamental step in actively shaping your destiny, moving beyond the limitations of the present and into the abundant potential of your desired future. The internal journey, the meticulous cultivation of a new self-concept, is not an instant transformation. It is akin to the patient tending of a garden, a process that requires diligent care and deep understanding of natural rhythms. This is the second vital secret, the patience of the gardener. You have planted seeds of your desired reality, watered them with your focused intention, and nurtured them with your unwavering belief. Now, you must trust in the invisible work happening beneath the soil. There is an inherent lag time, a sacred pause, between internal change and its external manifestation. Just as a seed does not sprout overnight, and a seedling does not become a mighty tree in a single season, your new identity requires time to take root and flourish in the physical realm. This period can sometimes feel like a void, a space where the old reality still clings, and the new has not yet fully revealed itself. It is during these moments that doubt can creep in, whispering insidious suggestions of futility. It is precisely here that the gardener's steadfastness becomes paramount. The gardener does not uproot a newly planted seedling because it has not produced fruit the next day. Instead, they continue to water, to weed, and to provide optimal conditions for growth, trusting in the seed's inherent potential. Similarly, you must remain faithful to your new identity, even when the mirror reflects the familiar image of what you are trying to leave behind. Your internal conviction is the nutrient-rich soil, and your continued belief is the consistent sunlight. The temptation to revert to old patterns of thought and feeling, to react to external circumstances as if your old self were still in control, is a persistent challenge. It is like a gardener being discouraged by a cloudy day, forgetting that the sun will eventually break through. Hold fast to the knowledge that your internal work is creating the subtle, yet powerful changes that will inevitably precede external blooming. This faithfulness to your new self, this unwavering commitment to embody the person you have chosen to be, is what allows internal change to fully permeate your being and subsequently imprint itself upon your outer world. Trust the process, nurture the growth, and allow the garden of your life to unfold in its own perfect timing. The final piece of this potent understanding, the third secret we uncover, centers on what might be called the power of directed focus. It is the active and conscious choice of where to place your mental energy, and it operates with remarkable precision. Imagine your mind as a sophisticated recording device, but instead of capturing sound waves or visual images, it captures the content of your thoughts. This is a crucial distinction. The mirror of your reality reflects the specific details of what you think about, not the raw, unchanneled emotion that accompanies those thoughts. If you are fixated on a problem, on what is wrong, or on what you fear experiencing, the mirror faithfully records the details of that problem, that flaw, or that fear. It does not necessarily record the despair or anxiety you feel, it records the elements of what you are focusing on. This is why simply feeling bad about a situation is not enough to change it. The universe, in its impartial reflection, responds to the blueprint you are continuously creating with your focused attention. This is where the power lies, in the ability to consciously redirect that focus. Instead of dwelling on the absence of something, or the presence of something undesirable, you deliberately shift your attention to the presence of what you want. This is not about denial or suppressing uncomfortable feelings, it is about strategically choosing what you illuminate with your mental spotlight. If you have been thinking about overdue bills, the mirror records the image of financial lack. To change this, you must consciously redirect your thoughts to the experience of abundance, to the feeling of financial security, to the details of what it is like when your needs are met with ease. This redirection requires practice. It may feel like steering a large ship against a strong current at first. You will likely find yourself slipping back into old thought patterns. The key is persistence. Each time you catch yourself focusing on what you do not want, gently, without judgment, bring your focus back to what you do want. Visualize it, describe it in detail, feel what it would be like to have it. The more consistently you direct your thoughts toward your desired reality, the more clearly that reality will begin to materialize in your experience, replacing the echoes of what you no longer wish to hold. The ninth revelation unveils the crucial art of escaping the reverse creation cycle. It is a trap that most individuals unconsciously fall into, a self-perpetuating loop of observation, projection, and confirmation. You see what is, project that it will continue, and then find evidence to confirm your projection, thus solidifying the very reality you may wish to escape. This ongoing feedback mechanism can feel like an inescapable chain, pulling you deeper into a narrative that does not serve your highest aspirations. The pervasive nature of this cycle lies in its subtle reinforcement. Every glance at the current state, every anxious thought about its continuation, every piece of perceived evidence feeding that anxiety, all conspire to keep you tethered to the familiar, even if that familiarity is undesirable. The central principle here is to interrupt this established pattern. Instead of letting your current circumstances dictate your perception and, therefore, your future, you are empowered to actively choose a different starting point. This means intentionally shifting your internal focus, even when the external world screams otherwise. It is about recognizing that your current reality is merely a past manifestation, an echo of previous thoughts and beliefs, and not an immutable decree for what is to come. The power does not lie in denying the present, but in choosing not to be defined by it. Therefore, the radical encouragement offered is to consciously disengage from the immediately observable reality. This is not about delusion or ignorance, it is about strategic redirection. When you catch yourself observing what you do not want, or projecting its persistence, the instruction is to turn your attention away from that perceived limitation. Imagine you are an artist about to paint on a fresh canvas. The existing marks on the canvas are there, but they do not dictate what you can create next. You have the power to introduce entirely new colors, shapes, and forms. Your task is to become the artist of your own existence. Instead of dwelling on the faded image of what was, you must begin to paint the vivid portrait of what you desire. This involves conjuring the next reflection, the next iteration of your reality, with as much clarity and feeling as possible. Visualize it, describe it internally with rich detail, and, crucially, immerse yourself in the emotional landscape of already having it. Feel the joy, the peace, the fulfillment that this desired outcome would bring. This emotional resonance acts as a powerful beacon, signaling to the universe the frequency of your true desire, drawing it into manifestation by overwhelming old patterns with a vibrant and compelling new vision. The transformation was not a sudden windfall, nor was it a whim of fate. It was, rather, the inevitable flowering of an internal recalibration. The moments that began to unfold, the fortuitous encounters, the doors that creaked open at just the right times, the timely suggestions that appeared as if conjured from the ether, were not mere coincidences. They were the resonant echo of the universe, a direct reflection of the altered energetic signature that had been consciously cultivated. It was as if the very fabric of reality had begun to mirror the vibrant frequency I had consciously chosen to embody. Imagine a radio tuner. When you meticulously align the dial to a specific station, clear and distinct music begins to play. If you then slightly nudge the dial, the music would transform into static and distortion. This is analogous to our energetic state. By deeply embracing the feeling and essence of my desired future, I had, in essence, tuned my internal radio to a new broadcast. The subsequent opportunities were simply the signals from that newly tuned station, manifested in tangible ways. The old chaotic static of my previous vibrational state was being supplanted by the clear and harmonious melody of what I had so vividly imagined. These experiences were not about winning a cosmic lottery, they were about becoming a magnetic force for what I was now radiating. The unexpected connections led to collaborations that felt effortless, not forced. Timely information arrived precisely when it was needed to navigate a challenge, dissolving it before it even solidified. It was a profound realization that the external world was, and had always been, a faithful mirror of my internal landscape. The richer the detail and the more potent the emotion I invested in my visionary reality, the more vividly that reality began to manifest around me. This understanding became my guiding principle. Instead of passively waiting for external validation or hoping for a stroke of luck, I actively engaged in this internal cultivation. I made it a daily practice to revisit the emotional resonance of my desires, to immerse myself in the feeling of already having what I sought. This was not about delusion, but about a deliberate act of energetic alignment, a conscious projection of a new, more empowered self. The results were not about luck, they were about the predictable outcome of aligning my internal frequency with the desired external experience. The power, therefore, does not lie in wishing, but in being. It lies in the deep understanding that the universe responds to the energetic signature we project. Witnessing the unfolding of these synchronized events, these opportunities that seemed so perfectly timed, was a testament to this principle. It was a call to action, not to seek external fortune, but to master the art of internal creation. I encourage you to experiment with this. Deliberately focus on the emotional essence of your aspirations, and observe how the world around you begins to reorganize itself, reflecting the magnificent new frequency you are transmitting. The culmination of these synchronistic events serves as a profound validation of a central truth, the extraordinary power residing within each individual to actively shape their lived experience. We stand at a perpetual crossroads, presented with a fundamental choice. One path leads to passive acceptance of circumstances, positioning us as mere victims of fate, buffeted by external forces beyond our control. The alternative, however, is the courageous embrace of agency, the conscious decision to become the architects of our own destinies. This is not about positive thinking, it is about intentional manifestation. The power to shape your reality does not lie in wishing for what you want, but in embodying the feeling of already having it. By deliberately and consistently focusing on the emotional resonance of your desired outcomes, you are not just waiting for change, you are transmitting a potent energetic signature to the universe. This is the essence of conscious projection. It is about projecting the image of your ideal future self, living the reality you aspire to, with such clarity and conviction that the external world begins to align, mirroring the vibrant internal landscape you have cultivated. Therefore, the call to action is immediate and personal. Do not wait for life to happen to you. Instead, proactively engage with your internal world, understanding that your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs are the primary architects of your external circumstances. Experiment with this principle daily. Cultivate the emotional essence of your aspirations, and observe with keen interest how the universe responds. This deliberate focus is the key to unlocking your inherent ability to orchestrate a life of purpose, fulfillment, and profound self-creation. Move forward, embrace your role as the masterful artist of your existence, and paint the masterpiece you were born to create.